and Sa, she talks about the differences. Now, differences are very, very striking also. She says the lack of reliable charts, please let's not look at it from a literal perspective alone or from a figurative perspective alone. Let's try to look at it from a post-colonial perspective also, because this is a poem prescribed for you as part of your post-colonial studies paper. So from a post-colonial studies perspective, if you look at each and every word, it gives you layers and layers of meaning. Right? So here, the lack of reliable charts, right? This is a term used by Spivak, Chandra Talpadi Mohanty, Sara Suleri, and others. That's called cartography. Cartography in the sense, right? The Western impulse for map making, right? Map precedes territory, right? So, this is something, again, a kind of a stereotype. Map precedes territory without even, knowing anything about the indigenes or the aborigines or the First Nations or the tribals or the natives. What they do is they map them on their, what is called, right, on their maps, right? Cartography becomes a strategy there. And now you'll find the differences. I think there is a problem connecting. Just a minute. So, connect. Right. You've lost your... excuse me, I think present now. Right. So map becomes a metaphor of the Western impulse also. Now you'll find in this terrain, maps alone don't matter, right? With maps alone, you can't necessarily access the real you, right? The real aura of the region or the post-colonial nation state or the individual cannot be plotted on a map. It is beyond that, right? More important, the distraction of small details. The distractions could be anything, ranging from, she gives a whole lot of distractions there. Your shoe among the brambles under the chair. Distractions necessarily for women. In post-colonial studies, we use the word double colonization. Again, Spivak uses this term. Mohanty, please read. If you are interested in third world feminism, post-colonial feminism, you should read Chandra Talpadi Mohanty, Mohanty, right? Under Western Eyes. There are a whole lot of others also, right, who talk about womanism, but Mohanty, we can relate with her better, right? So here she talks about the distraction of small details. The distraction as a woman, as a doubly colonized individual, not only by the colonizer, but also within the nation state, the distraction of small details, your shoe among the brambles under the chair. This is unique or innately native, right? Some of the concepts, the problems, the themes, the ideas that we encounter in post-colonial nation states are so unique. Even the Westerners will not have heard of it, but they try to totalize. They try to essentialize. So Eliki Boma, right, in her book, right, she talks about this totalizing, essentializing template. We saw about that in Peter Barry's beginning theory also, remember? Right? So this essentializing template, that all women have the same problems all over the planet. That's ridiculous. Because in India, especially, women are culturally inclined to wear saris on important days, on festive occasions, or even on wedding days. But you can't say, a sari, an 8-yard sari is kind of a restrictive. The Mangal Sutra is something that is restrictive for the woman. So, these totalizing templates, third world feminism or post-colonial feminism or even post-colonial studies is up in arms against. So that's what she says, the distractions that I have in my locale or in my vicinity, in my region, in my land is different from what you have in your land, right? So you can't totalize it, right? So your shoe among the brambles under the chair. Here in India, right, where we have an interesting concept called love marriage and arranged marriage, where love marriage is supposed to be, having a pejorative label, even at places, not always. Some places they, oh, love marriage, oh, arranged marriage, something, like that. So, we have our own authentic experiences, which they can't reflect from elsewhere. And so that's what she says, your shoe among the brambles under the chair, distractions, where it shouldn't be, lucent white mushrooms and a paring knife. That means her other responsibilities as a cook or in the kitchen, these other distractions. So can a woman really devote her time to what she wishes to or wills to? Does she really have agency? Does she really have stewardship over herself? Does she really have this might or power to be self-empowered to such an extent that she can devote an entire life for writing, not mindful of the paring knife, the shoes under the brambles, the lucent white mushrooms? These kitchen images also remind us that she has other responsibilities that she has to overcome. So does she really have a room of her own, like Virginia Woolf says? Or even if she has a room of her own, is she again like a moth, death of a moth? In Virginia Woolf's again, little wonderful little feature essay. Right? Death, is she really a moth in the house compared to a moth, right? Where she doesn't have a place. Or in Lakshmi Kannan's She, where we find her identity in the household is determined by how clean and sparkling the vessels are, the tumblers are, the dining table is. So wherein lies my identity as a woman, especially in reference or with reference to the post-colonial nation-state fabric? So these are the distractions that she talks about. I'm not trying to interpret it from a real figurative perspective alone, from a post-colonial perspective, right? So that you will also understand how to connect every word with this particular concept. On the kitchen table, a sentence, crossing my path, right? So this is a very pathetic, a situation, predicament, a very pathetic predicament. A sentence crosses her path, but she can't just like that take her pen and write it down. She can't just take a pen and say, no, I'm going to write down a sentence is crossing my path, because she's doing other household chores that occupy her mind, her heart, and her soul. Her children maybe are there. She has to take care of them. Her husband is asking her for coffee. Her, utensils are waiting for cleaning. She has to do the bed. She has to make the dishes. A whole lot of, other paraphernalia occupy her attention continuously. So she's not, she's not monotasking. She's multitasking. She has a whole lot of other, commitments up her sleeve. So even if a word were to cross her path, just imagine a beautiful word crossing your path, but you are not able to give vent to that thought by putting it down on paper right away. So that's what she says, a sentence crossing my path, sudden. I see the beautiful visual image. This is the power of post-colonial poetry. It doesn't necessarily lie in the rhyming or in the meter or in the rhythm. It has a completely, please remember in Edward Brathwaite, talks about nation language in the sense, a language that has a completely different idiom. Why? Because the hurricane doesn't roar in pentameters. So I am a lion, I will roar. If I am a lion, I should roar. And if I roar, please remember, the roar will not have rhythm to it. It has to be ferocious, that's it. It has to be filled with vigor, that's it. And when does a lion roar? Only when it is indignant or angry, right? Or it is searching for food. Right? So, so the roaring here becomes a metaphor. That's one reason why post-colonial poetry doesn't have a particular rhyme scheme, a particular meter to it. The hurricane doesn't roar in the pentameters. Now you find this beautiful visual images add credibility. If you can think about the sodden log, just imagine, just visualize this image, the sodden log. I'll just give you a picture of a sodden log that I took from Shutterstock, right? A sodden log. Is there any use of this sodden log, right? So just I'll take you back to that word once again. A sentence crossing my path, sudden as a fallen log. See if you can empathize with this sentence, you can empathize with the feel of what Atwood is trying to tell us. A sentence crossing my path, sodden as a fallen log. Is there any immediate use that you can possibly make use of with this sodden log that is fully damp, moist, with all wetness in it? Is there any particular immediate use that you can put of it? It's quite damp, moist, and at present, it is not fit to be of any use. My words are like that. See the beautiful comparison. So, although the words cross me, sodden, they are soaked with water. So immediately I can't use them. I will have, because a whole lot of commitments. Just imagine the water around this sodden log is the commitments that she is entailed to, that is a responsibility that she has to necessarily do in her house. And so the log is sodden. Log is like the crossing words. It is sodden, soaked with water. So what is the use of it now? She can't make use of it. By the time she finishes all her household work, the drudgery, the monotonous drudge of a work that she's doing, she has to take the sodden log, put it in the shores or on the open terrace, make it dry, and then make way for the sun to dry it completely and till all the water withers away, and then only then she can make use of it, isn't it? So with a sodden log, you can't do anything possibly. The same, she says here, the words cross my path. I feel a eureka moment, but it's of no use. It's like this, particular sodden log. I can't do anything out of it. I have to, and see the vein she says again, I'm sure I passed yesterday, even yesterday, a spark of a word passed my path, crossed my path, or passed by. I was so full of energy to write it down, but I couldn't because of the whole lot of work that I was entailed to or allotted to or doing. These other commitments that have beset me have necessarily curtailed my creative spirit. That's what she says. Sodden as a fallen log, I'm sure I passed yesterday. This could also mean, in a metaphoric vein, in 1973, if I'm right. Harold Bloom, we'll be doing Harold Bloom in a literary criticism class later. He talks about, in his particular text, in his particular book titled The Anxiety of Influence, he again uses this expression, anxiety. Anxiety is, when a budding poet or a present writer has the anxiety that she might possibly step on someone else's territory, or she might possibly, imbibe the way that someone else has written, the style of another writer. Anxiety of influence. So, these are possible anxieties that she has to overcome, she has to come out of in order to give herself a unique identity that is so rooted in her region, in her language, in her culture, in her style, in her idiosyncrasies, and that is uniquely, innately hers. Like Kamala Das again in the introduction, she says, the language that I speak becomes mine with its idiosyncrasies, with its everything. It becomes mine. So I'm sure I passed yesterday. Yes. Now comes a rhetorical question. She doesn't seek an answer here, but she is asking herself, have I been walking in circles again? That means the drudge of a work that Nietzsche talks about, no, eternal, the doctrine of eternal recurrence. I have been doing the same chores again and again and again and again every day of my life. Is there no respite for me, like the continuous rains that that struck Chennai in the year 2015? Some of you might have been in Chennai. I was in Chennai then. My house was also 5 feet into water. We lost lakhs of rupees worth of goods on the TV and the refrigerator, washing, everything gone. Continuous torrential rains. You'll come out, you'll see the rains. You come out again, there was no respite of the rains. It is continuous, going on and on and on and on, without any respite. So that means it recurs not one day. November 13th, I think it started. Right, the rains. November 13th, it started. I was in Tiruchirappalli. Our neighbor told me that in your house waters are rising. So I had to fast forward my way by car right from Tiruchirappalli to Chennai. And by the time I came home, right, we saw that the waters had raised to at least 2 feet. So we were able to maneuver the car out, and the scooter, the bike, everything, right, 1-2 feet inside water. Couldn't even walk inside the house because when you take one step, it's like it's very difficult to keep even one step in the water, because the water's first time you're walking 1 or 2 feet in water in your own house, right? So it is something, we'll see that image later. I'm using this image deliberately, deliberately also. Again and again it recurs, like the eternal recurrence. Drudge or monotony, this continuity, not one day, 2 days, from November 13th till December 13th till January 13th till February 13th, right? It was continuous. Only after February end, the water started subsiding. So in Groundhog Day, please watch this movie, The Groundhog Day. A wonderful movie that you will cherish for all of your life, right? An existential movie again. You'll love it, right? So eternal recurrence you'll find there also. The Truman Show by, I think it's there on Netflix. I'm not sure. I watched it long back, but I saw it on Netflix also. Truman Show again, the doctrine of eternal recurrence. Every morning you'll greet the same people. Every afternoon you'll greet the same people. Every night the same people. Like in Big Boss show, you find the same people again and again and again. Have I been walking? So what's different? What is that something new? Nothing new. Every day I do the same chores. Every day I do the same vessels, do the bed, do the clothes, cook the same food, clean up the vessels, everything the same. Now she's interrogating. The first time she's introspecting. Intro, within, spec means look. So looking within for answers. Have I been walking in circles again? So now she talks about the danger also, right, in this particular walk. Many have been here. That means many have tried to overcome their inhibitions, all their aversions, aspersions, and try to create a space of their own, but only some have returned safely. That means many have tried to charter a path of their own, but a lot of anxieties, aspersions, difficulties, stood in their way. They were not able to overcome the obstacles that came in their way. A resolve to be, unique, to celebrate their identity, or have a conviction that I have my own aura. Many have been here, but only some have returned safely. A compass is useless also, trying to take directions from the movements of the sun. You can't necessarily take directions here. Directions in the sense you can't ask a senior writer or a senior poet to guide you, right? A compass is useless. A compass is used for guiding. But here, you can never copy another person's guide map, because, right, the hills are alive with the sound of music. If you are willing to enjoy in the hills for yourself, your perspective, you will awaken before you, right? Uh, Everyone's experience is not the same. They might be in the same street. You might be living in the same street. Ask your neighbor about your street, she will have a different experience. Ask your dad about the street, he might have a different experience. Everyone's experience need not be the same, but therein lies the specialty. That's what she says. A compass is useless. Getting guidance from anyone is useless. That means you're falling back to stereotypical norms, established patterns, which will be of no use whatsoever. You will have to be your own guide in this journey within. No compass to guide you. That means you fall and you rise. Still I rise, says Maya Angelou. No? I fall, but I rise. I rise. I have to chart my way. Even though the whole world might not help me in finding my way, might not be helpful in guiding me, but still I will chart my way based on my own resolve, resilience, and convictions. So a compass is useless, trying to take directions from the movements of the sun, which are erratic. The sun is there, but because you are surrounded by a tangle of branches, sometimes even the sun, based on the sun, you can't chart your terrain, because the sun, we don't know where the sun is. Deep in a jungle, sometimes when you are lost in a jungle, look up, you can't see where the sun is, but you'll see the light. Sometimes even the light is erratic. So that's what she says. And words here are as pointless as calling an awakened wilderness. So, sometimes it is the experience that speaks more than words. It is an experience that you will have to have a first-hand account of, that speaks more than words. Pico Iyer has written a wonderful article called The Eloquent Sounds of Silence. He says, silence is gold, we say, speech is silver, we say. When we go to a place of worship, we, put out our sandals and then we go in. We give the utmost respect or reverence to a person by observing a 2-minute silence or a 1-minute silence. Silence is something that you obtain, you fight for it. Like Gandhiji fought for truth. He was waiting, like in Nissim Ezekiel's poet, lover, bird watcher. The poet waits for the right words. The lover waits for the right opportunity. The bird watcher waits for the right opportunity. Right? Same here. Right? Words might fail you, but the experience that you accumulate in this lonely journey will only enrich you. So words are useless in this solitary journey that you take. So that's why they say, meditation, dhyana, right? Being at peace with yourself, it gives you a lot of enriching experience for the entire life. So as calling in a vacant wilderness, then she says with a lot of resolve in the last 5 lines, whatever I do, this is the resolution, the resoluteness, the resolve that she has. She says, whatever I do, I must keep my head. You can write, this sentence in your notebook or in your, blackboard or white marker board, whatever. Whatever I do, I must keep my head. That means whatever I involve myself in, I should not be like a, emotional wreck. I should keep my head. I know. Then she says, with like a certification she gives, with all conviction she gives the certification, because she has felt the cliff as rough by her own hand. Remember, we saw in the first paragraph, right? A rock, a cliff is not known as rough except by hand. Now she has felt for herself the cliff is rough by her own hand. And this experience has made all the difference to her identity, her sense, right, of individuality, now she's transformed. And now you know how great a writer Margaret Atwood is. The reason is she was able to transcend or go beyond all the restrictions, the narrow domestic walls that are placed in front of her by society, by her own inhibitions, by the patriarchal society, whatever came her way. She was able to overthrow all the obstacles and create for herself a beautiful space, or what Virginia Woolf calls a room of one's own. I know it is easier for me to lose my way forever here than in other landscapes. That means, right, in other landscapes, it's easy. I'll have guidance, but I can't chart my path. I can't be myself. Here, it is so easy. Right? After going through this path, she says, it's easier for me to lose my way forever here. See the expression forever here, into the wild, that existential movie that I was telling in the past. Again, that's what happens there, right? He goes into the wild, and he has a particular destination in mind, but still, at some places, he loses his path there, but still he enjoys it, right? He celebrates it because he says the experience that I gain here is worth 1,000 years of experience that I can't get it anywhere. So, it is easier for me to lose my way forever here than in other landscapes. In other words, I can be myself. I can celebrate myself. I have a song, I have a voice, I have an identity, but it is a song of myself. It is a voice of myself. It is an identity of myself, not by the dogmatic, uh, biased, prejudiced dictats of a patriarchal or any, society. And other landscapes, I might not lose my way because already the path is there and there are people to guide me, but it is their path. Here, I might lose my way, but it is still my way, my path, my identity, says Atwood, right? There we stop with the Margaret Atwood. We can go on and on in our journey to the interior. I love to because we've already taken a month's time. So I stop it here. Next class, we'll do the second poem, that is not two cultures. I think the two cultures we have finished, right? Two poems we finished. Third one, all right, I'm sorry. That is Refugee Mother and Child, right, by Chinu Achebe. It's there. I can even send you the text if you want. It's a very simple poem. We'll do it in the next class. So be prepared. That's all for now. If there are any questions, you can ask me. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.